message, and there's a question that some are wondering is how do you stay sober during quarantine? And the reality of it is, like, who needs to stay sober during quarantine? Like, I'm a man of recovery. I'm 13 and a half years sober. So for me, like, staying sober isn't really that hard of a thing because I'm very engulfed in the recovery world. However, who needs to stay sober during quarantine? I mean, right now there's a lot of stuff going on. People are dealing with, depressive thoughts. There's a lot of anxiety-ridden people out there, fear of the unknown. So I believe during quarantine, a lot of people have turned to the bottle or to various drugs to not have to deal with life. And so they come to a conclusion, and I've seen this quite often. There's people in the last, 10 months that we've been in quarantine that are attempting to get sober. And so they're coming into the path of recovery, and it's got to be hard. Like I tell them often, I commend you for even making this attempt. And anybody that can stay sober during this time that's like newly sober, kudos to them, because it can't be easy if you can't really connect to a support group. Like what I do to stay sober during quarantine is I connect to my tribe. Like my tribe is a recovery world, and my recovery world has been utilizing various outlets online. Zoom is really popular, FaceTime and things like that, where we connect and there's 12-step meetings, but that's great and all, but we also have like just group meetings where a bunch of us come together. We're sober men and women, and we just connect. We talk about what's going on. Like if there's a lockdown, then we resort to Zoom, and if there's not a lockdown and we're actually able to go to some area where we can go and sit together, like a park or something like that, we sit and we just vibe together. We talk about what we're feeling and what we're going through. When it comes to staying sober, it's a lot of people, when they get sober, go in the 12-step community, and they work the steps with the sponsor, and they have a spiritual awakening, and then they help others. So I think one of the best ways to stay sober is to be connected to people and see who's struggling, and see how you can be a resource for them, and showing them how you're staying sober. And what I usually do is make a lot of phone calls. I call people to see what they're going through or how they're doing or just how their day is, Besides the fact that some of them are newly sober or some of them have been sober for a long time, some of them actually caught COVID. So it's like, that could really mess with you, right? Like the fact that you're debilitated for a couple of weeks. I myself had it a couple of weeks ago, and never once did the thought of using or drinking come to mind. I did talk to some people that were kind of on the fence with wanting to stay sober. They were struggling really bad, but it's just no way. If you've come to the conclusion that in your life drugs and alcohol aren't working for you, and you want to stay sober because your life's unmanageable, because that the drugs and alcohol don't serve you anymore, for me it's just a no matter what. It's not an option to use or drink, so I have to find other sufficient substitutes to being able to live a decent life, even in a quarantine. Rather than sit around and be bored and wonder what's going to happen with the world or what's going to happen with my life, what I like to do is I like to get up, and I've got dogs, and I go on long walks with my dogs. And right now the weather is perfect to where it's not too hot, and it's sort of like my meditative era. That's the time when, like, during the day where I put my phone away and I just be, in the zone with the dog. And then when I get home, I'll call a newcomer. Like, I was told by my mentors in early recovery, and I still do this to this day, and it really helps even in quarantine. I like to call a few newcomers every single day and see how they're doing and how they how they're staying sober or what's going on with them. But I also like to call people that can help me. Rather than me just call people that I can help, I can also call some people that can help me, and we can just all be there for each other. And love is the universal answer to everything. And when I'm expressing my love to other people, because I've learned to love myself in recovery, I can walk through anything. I can walk through fire. I can make it through a quarantine, however long this may go, and just be there for my fellow man. So that's how I stay sober. In quarantine is I've been doing a little bit of praying, a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing, and it's like every day. The more that I'm writing a book, so when I'm writing my book, I can sit there and I get in that zone where I'm focused on one thing, and I'm not focused on like my convoluted thought process that may be going through my mind where I think I'm bored. I'm never really bored. There's so much to do. We have so much more than people that used to live in log cabins that depended on electricity through like a candle, right? So like we've come so far. We have the internet. We've got a lot more reading material that was ever out there before, and we're able to, we have the phone. We can call our family members. We can FaceTime. It's not like we're not really out and about. Like we can do it from the comfort of our own home. And some people like me, like there was a time when I never got enough time within my house. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Like my animals, I love having my animals. They're happy to have their dad at home all the time. And so I get to spend a lot of time with them. It's like the joy of my day to wake up in the morning and see the dogs, and I got this hairless cat. They're all laying in my bed with me, and they come to me for my attention, and like the love is there. So like I'm not ever really alone. And like, I'm just going to talk about this right now. I was a non-God believer, atheist, agnostic. When I came into recovery, like I needed a power greater than myself, so I connected to a higher source, and it's what I choose to call God, and I fell in love with God. And so I'm never really alone because I pray and meditate and get into that meditative state where I'll tap into the sweet spot and have conversations with God. So I'm not alone because I've always got God by my side, and so loneliness is not really something that I experience ever. Actually, there's only so much time in a day, and it's like there's not enough time. Sometimes I think to myself, how did that day just go by? There's so many other things I wanted to do, but I didn't get a chance to do. But guess what? We got another day of quarantine tomorrow. I'll just do some of it tomorrow. Sometimes I'll set goals at the beginning of the week and the things that I want to accomplish and get done. For example, cleaning the house or certain things that I keep putting off or procrastinating on. So yeah, like boredom isn't a friend of mine. Anxiety is when you have the fear of the unknown, when you are future tripping, when you're worried about what's going to happen. And depression is when you're stuck in the past because of the things that may have happened to you. You're always sad about certain things that happened to you in the past. And if I'm either in the future or I'm stuck in the past, I'm robbing myself of this present moment, and all I really have in life is the present moment. And so if I'm not actually enjoying each second of the day, every God-given second of the day, I am shortchanging myself and not allowing myself to be in the zone and in the moment of each and every single day. So what I like to do is cherish every single second, every minute, every hour of the day, rather than worry about stuff that usually isn't going to happen anyway. Like most of the stuff, 95% of the things that I could worry about never really even happens, So you're allowed to, set boundaries with family members, because some family members will try to, step over your boundaries, and you're allowed to tell them, like, listen, this is where we stop. Like, you don't need to tell me what I need to do. With all due respect, you can have your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion, but this is who I am. B, you can set a limit on the amount of time that you spend with your family members so that you don't have to be engulfed in perhaps the judgment that's projected by them. And C, you have the choice of not going around them at all. I think sometimes people that have some past issues or traumas that were inflicted upon them by their family members would get along better just hanging out with friends that share and carry the same values as them. And you're allowed to go and hang out with your friends that make you feel good rather than family members that don't make you feel good until you come to a point in your life where you might work through some stuff and be able to just accept them for who they are. Like, this is what happened for me. For a long time, my dad had a lot of strong opinions, and when I say that I had friction with him, he ended up, because I was doing my own internal work with my therapist and in my community, my recovery community, he then realized that he needs to work on himself. He went and worked on himself. We work through our stuff. Some people work through their stuff. Some people don't work through their stuff. It could be other traumas, too, that had happened that are just unforgivable. So some people will never work through that stuff. But, yeah, there's that. So if you or somebody that you know is struggling to stay sober during quarantine, please do not hesitate to click the link or call the phone number and let us know, and we would love to talk to you.